it's Lindsay. Welcome back to The Wandering Reader. Today I'm going to be updating you on all of my craft projects. So I put a video up on my channel about 6 weeks ago now where I just talked about some of the crafts that I had been working on over the last, I don't know, couple of months or so. And so I'm back again today to kind of update you on where I am with those things, plus a few other things that I wanted to talk to you about during this video. So yeah, let's jump in. So I'm going to talk to you first of all about some things that I have finished or some things that I am working on at the moment. And the first thing that I've got to show you is I finished my crochet blanket. So I'm not going to be able to show you all of this on screen. I'll just give you a little bit of a look. So this is it all together. It's so massive that you're not going to be able to get a true picture of it on the screen. But what I'll do is I'll insert some clips here or some photos here of it all finished, so you can see exactly what it looks like. But I was so glad to finish this. I think I finished it about 3 weeks ago now, something like that. So I was working on the last couple of sections of the blanket when I updated you like about 6 weeks ago now. So yeah, putting it together was really interesting. I kind of had to sew all of the sections that I'd made together, and as I was sewing them together it was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I don't think I realised how big this was going to be. And then when I'd finished sewing them together, I then had to go around and to do another double crochet edge to it so that it all kind of came together. And this is the finished product. So it's currently up here in the reading room, and I've used it to kind of warm my legs up a couple of times when I've been up here, or I've taken it downstairs to use in the living room again to warm my legs up when it's been a little bit chilly and the heating's not been on, and it's just so warm and cosy. The only thing I would say is that it looks a little bit crinkled, and I think that's because I didn't block the squares. Now the project book that I used, I said to you before that this blanket is from the magazine The Art of Crochet. It was a subscription magazine, and each issue that they sent you, there was I think 4 a month or something like that. There was a different square to do for the blanket, and then there was kind of like a whole magazine of other stuff and things in there, and you have obviously collected it all over the course of, I don't know, maybe a couple of years, something like that. But it didn't say anything about blocking the squares or blocking the whole blanket. Now I think blocking the whole blanket would be quite difficult for me to do now because it's so massive. I don't really know an awful lot about blocking. I think I understand the basic premise of it, but I've never done it before and I'd have to read up a bit more on it. So it's a little bit crinkled, so I was thinking about putting the iron on a really cool setting and then going over it, but then I was thinking, why? I'm just going to use it at home, like it's not a show blanket or anything like that. So yeah, but it did make me think about blocking other things, so I might have to do a bit more reading up on that. If you know of any good videos or any good blogs or anything where I can go and read up on blocking a little bit more, please leave them in the comments down below. That would be really useful. But I just love this. I started this in May and I finished it in October, and I'm just so pleased with how it turned out. It was, yeah, it's every square. I'm just so proud of it. I am really proud of how well I got on with this, and yeah, just having this is like a real good memory of my first massive crochet project that I did, because I think I said to you before that I have crocheted some littler things before, but nothing on this kind of scale, and yeah, it's just really lovely to have. So yeah, that's my first finished project that I wanted to show you. Another finished project that I wanted to show you is another crochet project, and it's this little guy. Although I think it might be a female actually, just because the book I think gives it a female name. I'll have to look it up in a second. But I was in my local yarn shop, and I sound like an American or a Canadian, my local wool shop or my local craft shop, and I saw a little section that they have in here on something called Rickarumi. The Lovely World of Rickarumi, and it's crochet, but it's made using 100% cotton, and they had different books in there. This one is a Halloween one, So you can make all of these little figures on the front. So here's the little guy that I made, and there's an orange version of him here as well. And then there's a witch and a ghost and a bat and, yeah, a black cat. There's a spider, a skeleton. Yeah, and I just thought that it looked really, really cute. They had a few different ones in there. They had an animal one in there. They also had a couple of baby ones, so to make like little teething things, and a really pretty mobile to go over a baby's cot and stuff like that. And I just thought that the projects looked really imaginative, and they'd be something that you could sit down and do maybe in an afternoon or something like that. And this little guy, this probably took me a whole afternoon to do, so maybe 4 or 5 hours, which you wouldn't think that for something so small, but you have to make the body of it first, and it's made using this particular stitch, and I won't reveal what that is because obviously the pattern's in here, and I've had to pay for the book. But yeah, and then obviously you have to put him together, stuff him, put the eyes and the mouth on, and then make the hat. I did make a bit of a mistake with the hat, although it looks a bit kind of more authentic. It's all twisted and bumpy up here, and this bit is supposed to be flat, and I think well, I know it's where I read the pattern wrong, and I only realised my mistake about 2 days after I'd finished making him. So I just think he's so cute, and it's obviously past Halloween now. I might make a couple of the other figures in the next couple of weeks and just kind of put them away for next year, or I might just save the book for next year. But I really had a good time doing this, and I'm definitely going to pick up some more of the books. I paid about £3.50 for this little book, so it's not particularly big, you can see, and it has lots of pictures at the beginning, so it shows you a picture of the finished project, and then kind of some other pictures, and it gives you a little rundown, a little description of that thing. So let's see if I can find the pumpkin, and I will Pepe the pumpkin. Oh, it is, so it is a boy. I thought it was a girl. Why did I think it was a girl? I don't really know. I don't know, Pepe the pumpkin. Anyway, he is a boy, so I've been using the right pronoun. There we go. Yeah, so Pepe the pumpkin, and it talks about Pete the bat on here as well. They craft the best, they're in charge of the decorations. They craft the best creepy garlands and hang them up throughout the entire witch's house. Now there are bilious green slime drops, gruesome ghostly lollies, and terribly tasty vampire's teeth sweeties all over the house. So yeah, I just think they're so cute. And then you get these little balls of 100% cotton, and they're 25 grams each, and the patterns tell you exactly how many grams you're going to need of each colour to make the patterns, and each ball was £1 in that local craft shop that I went to. So not particularly expensive, but just so fun, and I really had a good time making this. So those were a couple of things that I've been working on that I finished over the last few weeks. I've made a couple of poppies so that I can donate some money for the Royal British Legion. I made one for me, one for my husband, one for a colleague, and a couple of others. I was just playing around with some different crochet tutorials and a knitting tutorial. I'll leave both of those down below just in case you want to check those out and make some for yourself or for your family, or you know, just to do a bit of a, I don't know, raise some money or whatever. So yeah, so what I'm going to go through now is things that I have been working on. So the first thing that I have been continuing to work on is this, which is a scarf by Tin Can Knits called Wheat. So I mentioned in my last video that Tin Can Knits do something called the Simple collection, which is a collection that is designed to teach you to knit, and this is one of the first projects in that collection, and this is how far I've got. I can't remember, I think I'd only just started this particular bit here when I showed this to you before, so it's grown. It's, I don't know, what, about 15 inches now, maybe something like that, but I need to get it to 60, so there's quite a bit of work that needs to be done on this, but I am enjoying knitting it. I know exactly what I'm doing now, and I can just knit it in front of a YouTube video or in front of the TV, and it's quite mindless. So yeah, and I'm loving the colour of this. I didn't really tell you what yarn I was using before, but this is a Paintbox Yarns Wool Mix Aran, and this is in the colour 855, which is called something like blush pink. It does have a colour on the actual website itself. It's 50% wool and 50% acrylic. I just basically picked it because of the colour. So yeah, I didn't really think about what kind of wool it was. I know I needed to get Aran, but I didn't really think beyond that about what kind of wool it was, like whether it was 100% acrylic or whatever. But it is really soft, and I think it'll be absolutely fine around my neck. I hope it will anyway. I'm putting some hours into making this. I definitely want to wear it. The way it's knitting up at the moment, I do think I'm going to need to block it because it's a little bit sort of like, I don't know, it's just, it looks a bit, do you see where it's like wider at the bottom and then a bit skinnier in here? It's not because I've dropped stitches, it's just because that's the way it's knitting up. I don't know. So I might again have to have a little think about what I'm going to do with that, but I'm really enjoying doing it. It is going to take me a while to finish, but I don't really mind about that. Another knitting project that I've been working on is I finished the crochet blanket, and I remembered that I had subscribed to a very similar thing but for knitting, and I got a bit frustrated with it before just because I didn't really know before what I was doing too much. And there were an awful lot more squares to do on the knitting blanket than there were on the crochet blanket. But I thought it'd been sitting in my loft for a little while, and I thought I should really just give it a go. It'll be a project that I do over a number of months because knitting takes me a lot longer than crochet does. The squares are also bigger, and there's a blanket and I think a couple of cushions to do. So this is from the patchwork collection from, I think it's called Knit and Stitch. So this is square number 1 in the pack, and it's garter stitch basically. So you have to do 20 by 20 patches for this one, so obviously they're a bit bigger. The crochet squares were 12 by 12, so they crocheted up a lot quicker. I did notice though when I'd finished this, I've got a little hole in the top of it where I think I've dropped a stitch. In fact, I know I've dropped a stitch, but I'd bound off by that point. So if anybody has any good tips on how to pick up, it's right near the top, on how to pick up a dropped stitch even when you've cast off, I'd love to hear them. Or can you point me in the direction of a good YouTube video or a good blog post again that I can use? But yeah, this is the first one. I haven't really gone on to do the second one yet because I've dropped a stitch on this and I kind of want to correct it. But yeah, it didn't actually take me as long as what I was anticipating. It says in here to use the 3.5mm needle and to cast on 44 stitches. But in the end I used a 4.5 millimetre, that would be massive, no, 4.5mm needle, just because it was going to be a lot smaller. And I think that was part of my problem before when I was having a go at these, is that they were a lot smaller than what the pattern called for, and so I was getting a bit frustrated with that because I didn't really know about changing your needle size or adding more stitches on, or I just think I didn't have a lot of experience at that particular point. So I'm looking forward to continuing on, and like I said, if anyone's got any good tips for how I can pick that stitch up now that I've bound off, yeah, please let me know. And then lastly is no, this is not lastly actually, this is the last project that I showed you in the previous video that I did, and this is my Hufflepuff cross stitch. Now, I have started this 3 times. Little story, I started it the first time, I got quite far with it actually. I'd kind of finished a lot of the, I don't even know what the creature is down here. What is it? I can't remember. Oh my god, that's going to irritate me. But anyway, I finished most of the little creature that was down here, and then I was running out of material, and I realised that I had cut the material, the Ada, too small for what I needed. So I threw that away. I started again, and I cut the Ada bigger this time, and then I got a little bit further with that, and then I thought about it and I was like, I'm going to run out of Ada again. There's not going to be enough for me to make sure that I've framed it properly. So I started a third time, and this is third time lucky. I actually bought one of these plastic square frames. You get tubes and then you can put your piece of Ada in the middle, just because there was quite a lot of fabric and I was finding using the hoop a bit of a pain because there was lots of fabric in the way. This is better and it holds it nice and tight and things like that, so I am preferring using this particular frame that I've got, and I'm just doing a colour at a time, so I'm doing a bit like 2 or 3 sections of colour that's the same, and then I'm moving on to the next one. So I haven't made it that far with this one for the reasons that I talked about, but I am enjoying working on it. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to when it's finished. Okay, and the last thing that I'm working on is something out of this book here, and I bought this. It's called Edward's Menagerie by Kerry Lord. It's from the Toft wool shop, I suppose. I don't know. I went to the knitting and stitching show at Alexandra Palace on the, I think it was something like the 13th of October. And at the end of this video I'll insert a few clips that I took, a few videos that I took when I was there of what it was like in the show and kind of what people were exhibiting and things like that. It was a really lovely day, and I'll talk a bit more about that later in the video. But I bought this book. There was a massive display of all of these different creatures that she had created in the foyer of the show. And then they had their own stand later on in the show when you went there. And there are a couple of books that you can buy. This one is the Menagerie one, so it's lots of zoo animals and things like that. So there's elephants, giraffes, wolves, cheetahs, foxes, goats, cows, lots of different animals in here. There is also a bird one, which I can't remember what that's called off the top of my head. Has she written? Are there any, is information about it in the front? No. I think because this must be the first one in the series. And then there's a dog one that she's just brought out, and I think she's bringing out like an underwater creature one as well, but they were just so lovely. So I started making Bridget the elephant, so I'll show you a picture of her. I'll just cover up the pattern. So there you go, there she is. Yeah, she's really, really cute. And I've never really thought about making any toys or anything like that before. I don't think they really appealed to me before, and I kind of got into the groove of it a bit more now. I started this, I've just dropped one of her ears, last Sunday. This is how far I got. So I've made the body. I'm making it out of, what's this? Stylecraft Special Double Knit in the blush colourway. So this is the body, and then this is the head. You can see this big bit, and then I've made 2 ears. So here's one of the ears, and then the other one's on the floor because I've dropped it. And I'm just in the process of making the legs at the moment. So this is the first one that I finished this morning. I need to make another 3 basically. So it's been really interesting learning how to do these. I've really enjoyed it. It's yeah, it's been really nice, and it's just inspired me to make some more of them in the book. Like I said, I hadn't really thought about making toys before, but I suppose because part of me thought that, well, who am I going to give them to? But I quite like the idea of just keeping them for myself basically. So like I said, I've got 3 more legs to do, and then you have to obviously sew it all together and put a little face on him, and on her, sorry, and things like that. And I've just really been enjoying doing it. So I've been using that particular wool and a 3.5mm crochet hook. They do give you advice in here on different sizes of wool and different size hooks that you can use, as well as kind of all of the stuff that you need. And they split the book up into 3 different levels. So I'm doing Bridget, and she's a level 1 creature, and then there's level 2 and level 3 creatures that have different sorts of a bit more complicated stitches in them and things like that to do. So yeah, I don't know whether I'm going to make everything in here. That'll take me forever. I mean, not that that's a bad thing, but I'm just really enjoying using it. Yeah, so I will leave a link in the description box down below to the Toft website, where you can go and grab yourself a copy of this book or a couple of the other books in the series. Yeah, they're just really fun. So then I thought I'd just chat to you about going to the knitting and stitching show. Like I mentioned earlier, like I said, I'm gonna put some clips at the end of this video so you can sort of see what it was all about. But it was like a long weekend show in Alexandra Palace. I've never been to Alexandra Palace before, but yeah, it was really lovely going. It was a really bright and sunny day, a little bit cold, but really bright and sunny. And the views over Alexandra Palace, or kind of over London, were just stunning. So it was lovely going to that particular area of London. Never been there before, and getting to go into Alexandra Palace itself. And yeah, you kind of walked in and there were some exhibitions from graduates of the, I want to say the Embroidery Guild, or like different universities that are part of that guild, I think, and they had some lovely work on display. It was really inspiring walking down that particular bit, and then you walk through some massive double doors and you went into the main sort of bit of the show. And there were lots and lots of different exhibitors there, lots of different wool companies, lots of different fabric companies, lots of different I don't know, like tool and material companies and things like that. Lots and lots of different things to see, and lots of things to be inspired by, basically. There were also a couple of other rooms, one of which I didn't get to. I was looking for my show guide on the way home and thinking, oh, I didn't visit that room. But anyway, there were also another room with a few more exhibits in it. There was a particular artist who had embroidered pictures that she'd taken of her mum when she was in various stages of dementia, and they were absolutely stunning, and it was just so interesting to see the various different stages, but using a craft like embroidery, and it was just really inspiring. I bought quite a few different things, yeah, a bit of wool and a couple of patterns, and I bought some new knitting needles and things like that. I also bought, which I'm going to show you, just give me a second, I bought these. These are called Alphabet Needlepoint Kits by Hannah Bass Needlepoint, and they were in a particular room there, so I got the L and the S, and they're basically done using counted half stitch on plastic canvas in chunky tapestry wool. So you've got everything that you need in the kit to complete them. I think they were about £15 each, which I suppose if it's got everything in there that you need, that's not too bad. She also did these really cool cushions that were sort of like almost like cartoony maps of different cities across the world, so they would be cool projects to do if you'd visited a city recently and you wanted something to remember it by. I think they were about £80. Again, I will leave a link down below to her website so you can go and check these out, but these would be lovely Christmas presents for somebody that's a little bit crafty, and like I said, there's everything in here that you need. So I haven't cracked these open yet, but I will do eventually, and I'll let you know what I think of those. A couple of other things that I bought when I was there. I got a tote bag, which my one says knitting takes balls, which I did think was quite good, so I got that. And then I also bought a patterns pattern book. I quite liked the look of some of the more sort of contemporary fashion pieces in here, so I show you a couple of examples of pieces that I particularly like. There's a pair of mittens in here, there we go, these ones that I think are quite sweet. And then I also like the look of this jumper. It's kind of got a little bit of holiness to it, which I quite liked as well. I do think that people often think of knitting and crochet projects as quite old-fashioned, but there are lots of companies now who have basically taken knitting and crochet into the 21st century. So yeah, this wasn't that expensive. I think it was probably about £5 or something like that, so I thought I would grab it and have it in the background as something that I can use. And then the last thing I want to mention today is I went to that book fair that I mentioned. I think those of you that watch my October book haul, I went to a book fair that last weekend that's quite near me, that runs at the end of every October, and I bought a few fiction books, that sort of thing. But then there was a massive non-fiction section that I hadn't checked out before, and they had some craft stuff in there, and I picked this book up, Crochet at Play, 30 Fun Hats, Scarves, Clothes and Toys for Kids to Enjoy. And I just thought some of the projects in here were quite sweet. Like, look at this little girl's skirt. I mean, how cute is that? And then what else is in here that I thought was quite sweet? Let's see, there are these little headbands, you know, that sort of thing. I don't have children of my own. I have some nephews who might enjoy this, and but I thought it looked brand new, like it had never been used, and you know, I'm sort of getting back into my crafts again, so I thought I'd pick that one up. So there we go, guys, bit of a longer video today, but I wanted to share with you all of the things that I've been working on, and yeah, I've just really got back into my crafts again. I'm really enjoying doing it. I'd love to have a chat with you in the comments below. Are you working on anything crafty at the moment? Are you enjoying these videos? Do you enjoy, you know, watching me talk about stuff that I've been crafting? I hope you do. Yeah, so thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.